Hey, welcome in. Well, the far left's war on satire moves along unabated. Here's the headline. Twitter locks out Babylon Bee over Rachel Levine tweet. The Bee responds, truth is not hate speech. So, as I'm sure you already know, the Babylon Bee is a satire site. But what is satire? Let's look at the definition. The use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. And what does the Bee do? Well, they use humor, exaggeration, irony to expose underlying truths. And this is a problem for the far left because their ideology is incoherent and it is made for satire. It's as if it was designed specifically to be made fun of, as fodder for comedians. So when it comes to woke, if you're looking to expose stupidity, you've come to the right place because they're such an easy target for it. So what's the hubbub about? Well, this stems from an article from the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee's Man of the Year is Rachel Levine. Levine is the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where he serves proudly as the first man in that position to dress like a Western cultural stereotype of a woman. At the bottom it has update. Since announcing this award, we've been told that Levine actually identifies as a woman. We have still chosen to give this award as his self-identification has no bearing on the truth. And why is this satire? Well, just look at him. And this is a response to USA Today naming Rachel Levine as one of its Women of the Year. It says, be true to yourself, a message from the nation's highest-ranking openly transgender official. And I would say generally be true to yourself is good advice. But only generally, because I don't think anybody ever said that to, Jeffrey Dahmer. But joking aside, I don't care that Rachel Levine identifies as a woman. I don't care. I personally would be more interested in whether or not they're qualified, which actually Rachel Levine doesn't really appear to be. Because this happened, right? Biden HHS nominee moved mother out of care facility as she directed nursing homes to take COVID patients. Rachel Levine was criticized over handling of the pandemic. And you know what the consequences of forcing nursing homes to take COVID patients is, right? Well, Rachel Levine knows because Rachel Levine took Rachel Levine's mother out of a care home. But anyway, USA Today named Rachel Levine as one of their Women of the Year. And then the Babylon Bee used humor to expose an underlying truth. But because Twitter is run by far leftists, I'm afraid that's a no-no. Because when it comes to the woke progressives, truth is subordinate to feelings, to ideology. It feels mean and you can't have that. It also makes them look ridiculous. So you can't have that either. And Twitter is quite obviously in the thrall of far leftists. And the far leftist rule is if you identify as something, you're it. Unless you're Rachel Dolezal, of course. Even though, philosophically, it's exactly the same thing, but, So on Sunday, the Babylon Bee CEO, Seth Dillon, revealed that the Babylon Bee had been locked out of its Twitter account for hateful conduct. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that truth is subordinate to feelings. And this action came after the Babylon Bee's piece from 5 days ago, the one naming Rachel Levine as Man of the Year. Levine, a biological man, is best known for coming out as a transgender female before being appointed by President Joe Biden to the role of Assistant Secretary for the HHS. And recently, Levine was named one of USA Today's Women of the Year. Twitter flagged the Bee's post, poking fun at Levine's transition and name change for violating its rules against hateful conduct. The rule states, you may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. Now, this is completely false. You're allowed to do all of these things as long as the person you're doing it to is not left-wing. Just ask, I don't know, Nick Sandman or Kyle Rittenhouse, or just actually any conservative on Twitter, or just even like a moderate liberal type. If you say anything that's not explicitly far left, you're in trouble. Now, I would also say that the Babylon Bee didn't actually do any of this. They didn't promote violence against anyone. They didn't threaten or harass anybody. They're just using humor to point out an underlying truth. I mean, they should just change this to, you may not say anything that's true. How about that? Because everybody knows that's the policy anyway, right? Dylan told his followers that they don't plan on deleting the tweet. We're not deleting anything. Truth is not hate speech. If the cost of telling the truth is the loss of our Twitter account, then so be it. And I have to think that this sort of thing is going to help alternatives rise. And there are alternatives. I mean, there's Getter, there's things like Minds. I mean, none of them are nearly as big as Twitter. But as Twitter becomes more ideologically insular, I mean, that will change. But one thing that won't change is reality and truth. And I want to say again, I don't care how people identify. You're an adult, do as you like. It's none of my business. Just don't expect people to pretend to believe things that they don't believe. And don't expect people to believe that just speaking the truth is hate. You may not like it, you might find it distasteful. You might not like the way that it makes you feel, but you're better off knowing it. Everybody is. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you'd just like to listen, there's the podcast Radio Baloney. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.